Hi guys, this is JP from FSiPanel. Welcome to this video. Here I want to show you how to fly a quick RNAV approach in Honolulu. I recently got something on my forum. Let me show you that. From one of you having some trouble to fly a RNAV approach. So as you can see there, the problem was that the aircraft was not descending. So the user wanted to create a waypoint at GIDMI. This is in Honolulu runway 04 left. We will see that together in a minute. And from that custom waypoint, start to fly RNAV approach. So everything was looking fine, but the aircraft didn't want to descend. And this is a common thing that we see as well on real airplane. In the training phase, when we train pilots, we have a lot of issues with RNAV approach. And not only RNAV approach, as well non-precision approach, because you fly the same way on a 737. If you fly a VOR or NDB approaches, you will basically use LNAV and VNAV for descent. If you can, if you're FMCs and you have all the requirements to do so, you will do that. But there is some very important step that you have to follow, otherwise the aircraft will not work with you and it's going to be a big mess. So let's see that together. This is the approach in questions. That's the one we want to do today. Right, so GIDMI. This is the initial approach fix of this RNAV approach in Honolulu runway 4 left. And what we will do is we will have in this video two things. First of all, I will show you how to create a custom waypoint. If, for example, you would like to fly several times from GIDMI, we will create a waypoint around 5 miles southwest of GIDMI, and from there we'll be able to fly as many approaches as we want. As well, I will create a snapshot, so that approach will be ready for you to fly. I will put in the comment below the download link. The only thing you will have to do is grab that file, drag and drop it on FSiPanel, and you will be able to fly right away RNAV approaches in Honolulu runway 4 left. All right, so let's go for it. Let me remove my face now so you have a better overview of the entire screen, and we will start by creating GIDMI. Right, so let's start FSiPanel. And when we start FSiPanel, my 737 is already sitting on ground in Honolulu runway 4 left. So FSiPanel detects that we're in Honolulu runway 04 left. That's correct. And now what we will do, we will create a custom pilot waypoint. So this is one of the features of FSiPanel. And not everybody knows how to do it. So let me show you that now for this approach. So if you go to select fix, you have this option here, select waypoint. So if we click on select waypoint right now, as you can see, I don't have any waypoint. So I want to create a waypoint. So new waypoint. Now this is my actual aircraft position, as you can see there. If I want to create a waypoint at the actual aircraft position, I could just pick actual aircraft position. But that's not what we want to do. So what we want to do is GIDMI, so Golf India Delta Mike Echo. So let's go for this. So pick a nav aid. It's a fix or waypoint, that's correct. And I'm gonna dive in GIDMI. Search. Now we find here the waypoint, distance to airport 11 miles, so that looks correct. So I will just select this waypoint. So this is now my reference. Now you can see that we have radial and distance. So now let's go again in the Navigraph chart. And this is actual position FSiPanel as in memory. But we don't want to start the approach from there. This is too close to the descent. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna move our point around 5 miles southwest. So we need to pick a radial. Remember, a radial is like around that point. This will be radial 360, that will be radial 180, that will be radial west, you see. 075 inbound, this means we are on the radial 255 from GIDMI, which gives us a track 075 inbound. So in that case, what we will do, 042 is our inbound track. So we need the opposite, right? It will be on a radial 222. So I will put radial 222, 5 miles. So let's go for it. Radial 222 and 5 miles. So we'll be 5 miles southwest. Now we need to compute the new coordinates. That's what we have here. Default altitude. So normally when we fly this approach, we want to be at 2,000 feet. As you can see here, 2,000 feet. And my inbound heading 042. So we will do that here, 2000 feet. My heading we set 042. Now the waypoint name, you can give the name you want. For me, I will put give me 5. And I will just put like RNAV 04 left. Right. Save waypoint. My waypoint has been created successfully. You can see it right down there. So now I will select it, validate, and now you can see on the summary that pilot waypoint GIDME at 2000 feet. All right, so let's go for it. We will fly this approach, and I will show you the mistakes, the common mistakes we do when we fly RNAV approach. Here you can see that right now we're gonna have the profile with flaps 30, and as it is a pilot waypoint, it's gonna be a clean profile. If you want to have your flaps extended, you could change the profile right there to vectors. That will be with flaps 5, or with final you will have gear down and flaps 30 if you don't want to spend time configuring your aircraft. Right now we're gonna go clean so that we practice as well to slow down the aircraft for the approach. All right, let's click on move aircraft. We are a bit overweight as usual if we don't change anything when we load the aircraft. So I'm just gonna reduce a little bit my zero fuel weight and update load. Let's go in the sim and see what's happening. So as always, do not touch anything when FSiPanel trim the aircraft, otherwise you might interfere. So just wait, you see your flaps are retracting to 0, and now we are going in the air. The only thing I will do here, I will acknowledge the ATC instructions so that she's happy with me. And that's about it. So now we should be going down to 2000 feet. We can see our approach has been set already by FSiPanel, but we will check everything. And I will show you the common mistake of the RNAV approach. All right, alt acquired, 2000 feet, everything looks good. We should get the control anytime soon. Altitude hold. Now we look at the message down up there, and we should get aircraft ready for your training. That's it. Aircraft ready, hold your brake for 3 seconds. So now it's the good time to prepare everything, right? So let's have a look at our FMC. FMC has been set by FSiPanel to the approach, so probably we have RNAV approach. If it's not the case, you can select RNAV approach again, and you can see that GIDME is our waypoint in front of us, 5 miles. This is exactly what we set with FSiPanel. Right, so we have this. So now if I put GIDME on top, we're gonna have GIDME on top. Everything looks good. But look in the progress page. Now you see something's missing, and it's very important for RNAV approach. We don't have any top of descent. This is the common mistake, believe me, during training for new pilots on 737. If you give them vectors, if you change the altitude, then the FMC needs a reference. He doesn't know what altitude you're actually flying. So then he doesn't know when do you want me to descend. What is my actual altitude? He cannot read that number here. So right now, he is lost in space. You see there is no ETA, nothing, he doesn't know what to do. Right, so we will fix it in a minute, and I will show you how to do that. So this is one of the things. Now when we fly RNAV approach as well, FSiPanel has set here your ILS frequency. If you fly RNAV approach, it's probably because ILS is out of the air, or you have some errors in the glide slope. So make sure you don't select an ILS frequency. Get rid of your ILS frequency. Now you will not get any distraction on your PFD. But we are missing something here. The NPS, and you will see what's happening when we program correctly our box. Right, next thing we want to do. Let me bring the chart quickly. If we look in the chart, it's an RNAV approach. The final approach course is 042, so this is good to set it. So that's always very nice to have a reference. So let's put 042 and put 042. So that's a good thing to have, right? Next thing to set, if we look at this approach, 2000 feet at Mach-I, this is where we will start our descent. Okay, so at Mach-I, we will start at 3.04 degrees descent to our minima, which is 460. Some airlines will add 50 feet, some don't, so this is up to you. In that video I will just set 460. And then if we don't see the runway, we need to go around by climbing to 500 feet, then a right turn to 3000 feet, direct to Alana and hold. All right. MSA, we can see that we have 5,300, mainly north during our missed approach. This is where we have to be very careful. All right, so now this is our approach. So let's see how we can set up that approach in our 737. All right. We are in the 737, and I just want to show you something. I don't know if that's going to work or not, but let's see. If I press VNAV, see, nothing is happening. This is exactly what my user was saying in the forum. Why? Because VNAV doesn't know what you want to do. Even though we have the right course there, we are missing something. So we will use the position freeze of FSiPanel to do a complete setup. Right, so in our FMC, what we need to do, look at this cruise page. You see that dashes, these lines. So now your FMC needs to know something. So what we do here, we take our actual altitude when you're on vectors. So now we're on vectors, we know we're gonna get clearance to fly this RNAV approach. My actual altitude is 2000 feet. So if I set 2000 feet here, that's it. And I execute. What's gonna happen now? If I go to my progress page, something new, you can see that now we have a top of descent. So now my FMC knows exactly what I want to do. I want to descend via guide me to my runway. So if I go to my legs page now, I can see clearly that we know what we are doing, right? Good, so this is the first thing you need to do. Then second thing we do normally on this kind of approach, if you go to position in it, in the page 3, we have nav status. So if you click on nav status and you go to page 2, bear in mind with me, we have the nav options. What is it? Now let's say you have some VOR which are on EMEA, that are not available, and you fly around the place, then you will put your VOR hidden there, and that will tell the FMC not to use that VOR or that DME for its position calculation. Now we will fly RNAV approach. RNAV approach are only based on GPS. It means you don't need any ground equipment at all. This is why we love to fly those approaches. So we will tell our FMC, do not update yourself using DME station or using VOR station or using localizer station. So the only way to update yourself is by using the GPS, and this is exactly what we want to do, right? So this has to be set as well. Please note that if you land, normally those figures go back to on automatically. This is by default. But let's say we go around and we divert. Now you have to make sure you go back to on if you fly somewhere else, so that you have a better backup of your navigation. Right, so we have set now our FMC. What else? If you go to progs page 4, now we can see that the actual RNP is 2.00, while we usually fly approaches with 0.3 or even less. If the charts tell you that you need less than 0.3 nautical miles, then we need to update it manually, right? Now we see down there that during the RNP approach, the FMC will revert to 0.3, but we can as well force it. If we want a better and earliest RNP, I could set 0.3 right now. And now I force my FMC to have 0.3 as a new tolerance. If I go out of 0.3 nautical miles laterally, I will get a message, required performance, and I will get as well the FMC lights here that will turn on. Right. As well for the vertical, by default the 737 will have, you will see the scale later on, 400 feet. So maximum 400 feet deviation. Usually we want to change that to 125. Right, so now we're gonna have a very nice indication if we are too high or too low. If you are too low, be careful and go around right away. Do not wait, especially if you're on IMC, right? Good. So now what we have set the FMC correctly. We have our landing speed. We have 2000 feet right there. We have the courses. We have the auto brake. So basically we are ready to fly this approach. We have our minima, which is 460. So I will set it right there. Remember that some airlines will add 50 feet, so that will be 510. This is up to you. On that example, I will just use 460. Right, here we are. So basically now we are all good. So let's give it a try, and remember that before you start your descent at this waypoint, Mackay, we must be fully configured. The aircraft should be geared on, flaps 30, and if possible landing checklist completed, then we can concentrate on the approach itself. Right, so now I will take over the control. So I hold my brake 3 seconds. And I will arm LNAV. We have LNAV, and now VNAV. See, the speed goes to 250. I just go speed intervene, and I will slow down right away to up speed. So now she doesn't accelerate. Now you can see this is very important to see that information right here, VNAV path. If you don't see VNAV path there, nothing's gonna happen, believe me. And we see that a lot in the simulator. If you see VNAV alt, if you see halt hold, your aircraft is not gonna start descent. So make sure you see VNAV path, and now we can start to slow down as we have to be fully configured. So let's go for flaps 1. And we will bug 1. Another thing which is very important, make sure you lower your altitude there. If you don't lower your altitude, you will see VNAV path becoming VNAV halt, and then the aircraft again will not descend. One thing which is nice to do, let me go flaps 5 first, and then I will show you something we do as well a lot to help us, and I will bug 5. As I told you, Maca is where we start our final descent. You see the message, reset MCP altitude, this is your last warning. If you don't do that, the aircraft will not descend. So now I will put 500 feet to give the FMC clearance to descend. Right, Mackay, I will just take it, go in the fixed page, put it right there, and then we'll go for 2 miles. This is something you can do to help you for the descent. I will explain to you why in a minute. Right, you can see now, bug 5. Now, as I'm extended some flaps, I don't need to be in speed intervene anymore. So I will just give the FMC back the control on the speed, and now she will maintain bug 5. So that 2 miles that I did from my final descent is a very good hint for gear down flaps 15. If you put gear down flaps 15 too early, you're going to have a lot of thrust, and the aircraft will basically just use a lot of fuel for nothing, and you will have trouble to keep the altitude if the aircraft is very heavy. So the best thing to do here is just wait for this 2 miles before top of descent. Right? And we will see at 2 miles, which is exactly these 2 miles from Mackay, we'll go gear down flaps 15. You will see it works perfectly. 2 miles, then I can go gear down. I will go flaps 15. We can arm the speed brake, and we can go ahead with the lights, keeping the taxi light for the landing clearance. Right. Perfect. You see the aircraft is slowing down to flaps 15, bug 15. Perfect. Now we can see 1 mile to top of descent. You can see here your vertical deviation, lateral deviation, and as well vertical deviation, lateral deviation right down here, right here. So now I'm ready, getting very close. I'll go flaps 30. Now make sure you have VNAV path. If you don't see VNAV path, remember nothing's gonna happen. Okay, so now the aircraft will start descend. And she goes. She's taking a bit of time to start descent, but don't worry, we are good. She start descent, and now at some point we need to set the missed approach altitude. So when can we set missed approach altitude? On this approach, the missed approach altitude is 3,000 feet. So you need to make sure that you're at least 300 feet below your missed approach altitude, which is the case right now. So I can set 3,000. So look what's going to happen if I don't go quick. Now it worked. If for some reason when you go 3,000 feet you lose your VNAV path, then again just arm VNAV. Right, so now the aircraft basically is fully established. And what we will do now is cross-check DME distance versus altitude. You see 3 miles here? 3 miles, we are at 1,320. But these 3 miles, be careful. These 3 miles, I'm from Cedri. 2 miles, 1,030. Perfect. So now we can consider ourselves as fully stabilized. We have done the landing checklist. We are ready to go for the landing. So if you fly RNAV approach and the runway is your final point in your FMC, you can basically keep your autopilot all the way down to the threshold. Alright guys, this is how we fly RNAV approach, and as I told you, I will give you in the link below the snapshot file. So let me show you quickly how to fly this snapshot. As you can see, I just started my 737 now again in Honolulu. I didn't change anything in the cockpit. So just load your aircraft in Honolulu runway 04 left. Then when you take FSiPanel, make sure you are in Honolulu runway 04 left. And then you will see that file. That file is the one you need to download. It's a zip file, so unzip that file anywhere you like. And then what you need to do is just take it and drop it on FSiPanel main screen. Then you can see a summary. It's gonna be Honolulu runway 4 left. Weather is not saved, and because as you know, for now in MSFS we cannot affect the weather, unfortunately. And this is the name I give to this snapshot. So what you can do is either save it, and then it's gonna be available for you if you want to practice several times, or just fly to try it. You don't need to save it. So let me show you what happens if I click Save Snapshot. The snapshot is imported successfully, so that means now if I go load snapshot, I will find that snapshot in my list of snapshot, right? And if you just want to fly it, what you do is import it again and go directly for fly snapshot. When you fly snapshot, you can see the summary there and you're ready to go. So let's see what happens if I click now move aircraft. We are in our cockpit and we should see the flaps moving up. Yeah, that's correct. And we are going for this approach. So let's see. We can see heading, altitude hold, MCP speed, or FMC seems to be set. The gear is going up. That's it. So don't touch anything, because that's the best way to screw FSiPanel. If you start acting in the cockpit, you can see everything is under control. We are reaching 2,000 feet. Our minima is set, as you can see, for 60. We have the routings, everything is there. And alt acquired. And we are ready. All right, so how we fly from there? Very easy, take over the control. And now what you can do is we are on a steady heading. Arm LNAV. So if I arm LNAV, I will have LNAV captured and the aircraft is maintaining the heading. And now I will arm VNAV. Again, you see the speed increasing. So just go speed intervene, reduce your speed. And now we are in LNAV VNAV path. So we know everything is gonna be working perfectly. Let me show you what's happening if we forget, as I was telling you before, if we forget to select a lower altitude. So we will do everything correct, but we do this mistake that happens as well a lot in training. So we will forget simply to lower the altitude. So we will start by configure our aircraft, flaps 1. Now everything looks perfect. We are fully established. We set 042 inbound. Everything looks good, and now we get distracted, and this is something as well we do sometimes in training. You will get ATC core, reduce speed, do this, do that. The purpose is to distract the pilot to see if they are able to follow what the aircraft is doing. All right, so we got flaps 1, everything looks good. Now we'll tell them something like, okay, reduce speed further down, 160 knots, your number 5 for the approach, or your number 2 for the approach, sorry. So they will start reducing, and they basically don't see that they are reaching their top of descent. So right now the aircraft is perfectly well set, as we did it before, with VNAV path, LNAV, everything looks good, the speed is going down. So everything looks perfect for the approach. This is our top of descent. So normally we will get a reminder from the FMC, and if we are really not paying attention, then this is where the problem starts. You will see that in a minute. Everything looks good, the speed is good. We are approaching the waypoint GIDMI. Now you see, reset MCP altitude. Sometimes I see first officer stress. So what they do, anytime they see a light, I let you guess. Yes, you're right. They click on it and they delete the message. And now the captain is saying, what was the message? I don't know, something probably about the altitude. Ah, yeah, all right. Guys, believe me, I see that a lot in training. Make sure you read what your aircraft is telling you, because otherwise, the next thing we hear is, what the hell she's doing? She's not flying the descent. What's happening? And now we see autopilot off, auto throttle off, and the circus starts. So basically, she was giving you a last hint. Reset MCP altitude. I need to descend. I need to descend. Reset my altitude. All right. It's not like an ILS where you can just arm approach and she will quit the altitude. For non-precision approach, you need to give her the clearance, right? So let's see what's happening. We're expecting that VNAV path to change. So now the pilot will continue, reaching 2 miles, gear down, flaps 15. Set the light, everything looks good. Everybody looks happy. We are ready for the approach. I will go speed intervene, I give the control to the aircraft. So basically you see how easy you can get catch in this kind of scenario. So be careful if you train that. Always read your FMA, and especially when you are getting close to key point, like the top of descent. We are still in VNAV path, but this is my cleared altitude. So let's see what she does. She wants to descend at Mackay. Okay, now we'll go flaps 30. Everything looks good. ATC will play a role there. We'll tell you we're clear to land, report, wind, spot wind, whatever. So now the pilots are a little bit distracted and see my mode now. VNAV, alt. Now I'm losing my glide slope. So now this is where we see, oh, what's happening? What's happening? And now big panic. Nothing you can do. So the only thing you can do is set your minima, start your descent, right? This is something you could do to save the day. And now you see your deviation right down there. This is my actual deviation. I'm 300 feet too high. So not a big deal. I can still recover. Now, if you do this kind of things in IMC, be very careful. Now she's going down to 600 feet, whatever is in front of you. So this is, if you do that, be very careful that you engage again your VNAV to make sure you don't go below your profile. And now we see again VNAV path. Perfect. So now she is responsible of the altitude. You have recovered your descent. Don't forget to set your missed approach altitude, or she will capture 600 feet and you will miss your landing. That's another problem. So we are good. I will set 3000. And now always read your FMA. Something is happening. Altitude hold. Oh, VNAV again. All right. FMC VNAV path. Anytime you touch your mode control panel, make sure you read your FMA. And as you can see now, we are perfectly stabilized at 1000 feet. The speed is correct. We're on profile. Runway is in front of us. Minimum is set. Missed approach altitude is set. We are clear to go. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that quick tutorial. And if you have any questions or comments, please drop it below and I will be very happy to answer. Thank you, guys. And as always, stay safe. See you on the next video. Bye-bye.